everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Life Served Neat. I am Beth Barber, and joining me today is another Beth, Beth McClay. Beth McClay is a Lake Norman area real estate professional serving clients throughout Denver, Cornelius, Huntersville, Mooresville, and the greater Charlotte region. With a background that includes time in the software industry before transitioning into real estate, Beth brings both business experience and a relationship focused approach to helping clients navigate major life transitions. Known for her passion for the community, lifestyle, and helping people to find the right fit beyond just the house itself, Beth specializes in the Lake Norman market and the unique lifestyle that draws families and professionals to the area. Her work centers on understanding what home really means during different seasons of life, whether clients are relocating, downsizing, upgrading, or simply looking for a fresh start. Beth, welcome to Life Served Neat.
Thank you, Beth.
I'm so glad you were able to take some time to join me in the studio. It's a treat to have you here.
Thanks. And it was a really long commute, just right around the corner. But I did drive because it is 90 degrees out. So
It is today for sure. So we are the two Beths, and it's kind of rare to find another Beth, actually. It's weird to call you by my own name.
And funny enough, I was with another Beth last night, but it's a very good way to remember someone's name too when you first meet them.
It is. I do remember clearly when we first met, it was right after we had moved in here, and you were heading up a food truck music event here in the neighborhood. And we were coming to our very first one, and that was actually where I met you. And I thought it was just a fantastic community building event.
It was. It started off small with just a couple food trucks, or one food truck, I think. Then we added live entertainment, more food trucks, dessert trucks,
Mhm.
and it turned out being quite the event for the neighborhood.
Yeah, it still goes on actually now to this
Mhm.
day over the summertime. It's something people really look forward to.
Great way to bring.
Mhm. What drew you to the neighborhood originally when you were looking to come to Lake Norman, and where did you come from?
Well, we were in South Charlotte, just like Waxhaw area, kind of south of Blakeney. My husband was transferred to the Charlotte area a little over 14 years ago. At the time, we moved to South Charlotte because it was a good fit for our 2 teenage sons. We had 2 in college, 2 in high school, and Marvin Ridge High School was a great fit for them. After they finished up school, well, we don't have to be in this area. We have a lake nearby. And my husband took me kayaking one time for my birthday, which is around 4th of July. And it turned out to be quite an expensive kayak trip because 2 months later, we bought a house that I affectionately call my midlife crisis house. Uh, because it's a fixer upper and the projects continue. But every morning when we wake up and we walk into the kitchen and look out at the view, we're just happy to be here. So, and we heard Denver was the quiet side of the lake. It really is beautiful over here.
Because you've been in real estate for so long, what makes this community different than other communities that you've experienced, either living there or placing families there?
Each community has its own personality per se. We live in Westport. It has been around for quite a while. It's one of the first planned communities on the lake. The residents can range in age from 90 something to 30 something. So you get quite the gamut. The neighborhood is turning over now. We have younger families moving in. It's interesting because now lakefront properties become more expensive. Before it was certainly more attainable for, a broader range of home buyers. Now it's, if you're right on the water, it's pricier, but you still can be within the community, just not right on the water for a reasonable amount.
Mhm. It really is an evolving area. Like you said, Westport was the first planned community on the lake, but primarily the majority of the development happened on the east side, and we happen to be on the west side. How do you kind of internalize the difference when people are coming to this market between the east side and the west side of the lake? And what are people usually looking for?
It depends. When I have buyers coming from out of town or even just within the Charlotte area, but they're not really familiar with the lake, I really spend time getting to know them, talking to them about, you feel them out. What are their interests? Do they like to shop and go to restaurants a lot? Do they like to kayak or play tennis or pickleball or golf? Do they prefer quiet, or do they like to be in the center of
Mhm.
activity? And that really helps determine, where they're gonna be. Do they like a neighborhood feel, or do they like a lot of privacy? I've had, clients that either on either end of that spectrum. So the more time you spend and more properties you show them, you get a feel for what they want. This side of the lake is we don't have the retail, our
Yeah.
big box stores, Walmart, but
That's true.
I go over to Huntersville, Cornelius area, and when I go over there, I run a lot of errands at the same time. So we have all those, amenities close by. They're just not 5 minutes away, but more like 25 minutes away.
Mm. What is a misconception that people that are looking to move to the lake? Is there some common thing that people think and then you're like, "Oh, let's set an expectation around this."
Well, depending on where people come from, North Carolina lake property is a lot more reasonably priced than beach property or a lot of other lakes. And if they're coming from up north or out west, they can get a lot for the money. Here in Lincoln County, our taxes are very low compared to a lot of other areas. That being said, people still underestimate how much things cost. So they still might come with unrealistic expectations like, "Really? It's this much?" I'm like, "Okay, you try finding that house somewhere else for that price and with these taxes." Like, I told someone what my taxes were one time, and they said, "Is that a month?" And I'm like, "No, that's annual." So the expectations can go both ways.
That is really interesting. What sort of patterns are you seeing in the real estate market today? Since COVID happened, man, has that been a roller coaster? Where are things kind of sitting right now?
It's crazy. No one thought that COVID would cause an explosion in the real estate market. Everyone thought the opposite. So it was very surprising, and it's amazing how you can adapt and pivot. Virtual showings became so important, and people would buy sight unseen. There was so much demand, it got really crazy. And when it gets crazy like that, it's really not the best time to buy because you just get caught up in the mania. So, that was a little crazy. And where we're at now, back then, the interest rates were artificially low, and for a lot of people, that became the norm. That has never been the case. So, and it will never be again, probably in our lifetimes. So people had to adjust mentally to that. When the rates go down, activity goes up. The rates have been going up and down with what's been going on the international scene, but also usually when the rates go down, prices go up. When rates go up, prices go down. But we have had very limited inventory, and real estate, like everything, is supply and demand driven. So, with very low supply, sellers could keep the prices high even though the, interest rates are high. Also, because it is, more reasonably priced here than other areas, there are a lot of people with cash, so they come in with cash, they don't have to worry about the interest rates. Also, here in our neighborhood or in different neighborhoods, there's a short-term rental market too, so we've had investors coming in. Years ago, people would think, "Well, who would come to Denver for vacation?" Now, a lot of people come to Denver for
Oh,
vacation.
yeah.
Lake Norman is a very attractive location for vacationing, so that's impacted it.
Has the investor velocity or investor activity, has that settled down at all? I remember hearing about it when it was really high. Has that calmed down to
Yeah.
any degree?
Yes, and it's purely economics. So investors need to place to put their money and they want a return. At the lower prices that we had, and there was a lot of demand, particularly during COVID, we had a lot of investor activity. But if the prices go up, it's harder for them to get the return that they desire. So it has slowed down a bit. That being said, it hasn't ceased, and there are a lot of people that need to park their money somewhere. And there's still, the Charlotte area still makes a very good investment for many reasons.
When you're working with your clients today, what do you find they're looking for the most? Are they looking to downsize, upsize, lifestyle? What is important in the buyers you're working with today?
Yes, to all those. It really
Okay.
depends, it really depends. Some are looking to downsize, some are looking to, upsize, some are retiring, some are not, some are so it's just you have everyone. Some are relocating to the area because now they can work remotely. Some are relocating to the area because they're working in Charlotte now. So that's one of the special things about the lake, you still can commute to Charlotte and live on a lake. My
Yeah.
husband does, so
Yeah, I do. I commute all the way to Ballantyne.
yes,
And
yes, that's
and
possible.
yeah, but
Right.
it is wonderful to live up here. You mentioned just a little bit ago that you bought your midlife crisis house was a fixer upper. And I think every house on this side of the lake is a fixer upper. One of the things I love about the west side is that they don't generally tear down and rebuild. People generally are buying a house and they're redoing it, which is what we're doing as well. This house that we bought, room by room, emergency by emergency, renovating the house, has the explosion of HGTV, remodeling shows, and social media. How has that changed what your clients are expecting or how maybe they're evaluating houses that you're showing them?
That's a great question. I am an HGTV junkie, my husband and I. Good or bad, I don't know. As a real estate agent, you kind of roll your eyes because it's never like house hunters. It's never really that way. And contractors really roll their eyes because yeah, those prices are not right. I actually met the couple from hometown.
Did you?
Yes, they spoke at a convention I was at, and they said that they say our their prices, but they're also in Mississippi. So that doesn't really translate across the country. A lot of people do like to renovate the homes they buy. And on this side of the lake, most of them are older. Most of them have not been renovated yet when they're sold. With rising prices, the cost of remodeling has gone up. It's hard to find contractors. It's stressful. You really have to have the stomach for it, not just the brains for it or the patience, but you really have to have the stomach for it because it's not an easy thing. Also, with the values going up, we are seeing more houses being torn down and they're building up. And in other areas that I've lived in, it's been the same thing. There's a house very close to us. The land was sold for 1.7 and then they tore the house down and now they're building this huge house. The water is what sells. It doesn't matter. You can build this multi-million dollar house and have a mobile home next to you. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you've got a good view, you've got a good view. That won't change. That's what we're seeing a lot of now.
And then eventually those mobile homes get replaced with houses over time.
Over time, sometimes the families hang on to them for a long time because they enjoy it. They went there as a child and now they're bringing their children there and they don't need a big house and they just want to keep it the way they remember it. So,
Yes.
mhm.
Do you think that people know their neighbors less today than they used to?
I think it's really on a case by case basis. I think if you want to know your neighbors, you'll know your neighbors. When we first moved in, we moved in September. We had a Christmas party a couple months later. We got to know the neighbors. It's important to us. In this neighborhood, the population is trending a little older now. They did a lot of this. They used to have block parties and everything else. So for some of them, it's a lot of work and it's difficult. That being said, we have wonderful neighbors and we go to their house, they come to our house. We enjoy getting together with them and hearing about some things that used to go on in this neighborhood too, which it was quite the party scene, and they were great too. There's a lot of different things at play. A lot of dual income families now. Like years ago, a lot of moms were home. I was a stay-at-home mom for many years with my kids, and I was in a neighborhood where there were a lot of other stay-at-home moms. So we were at the bus stop, we were at the parks, we did a lot of these other things. If both parents are working, there's not as much there. However, they may be socializing through the school and things like that. So I'd say yes and no. I think people are pressed for time. The kids are very busy. Even when they come home from school, then there's after school activities. There's not as much downtime, go out in the backyard or like my kids used to just go play in the street. So I don't think there's as much of that now.
Right. And I think because, like you said, people are so pressed for time, they don't necessarily have the bandwidth left for hosting
Yes.
things like planning the little local events where you'd have a handful of your neighbors over for a backyard barbecue.
Right.
It's baseball, soccer,
Right.
tennis, whatever it is that the kids are doing or you're doing. And when you go to work all day, every day, you get to the weekend, the last thing you want to do is clean your house and have a bunch of people over.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And for us too, our kids are spread out. So we travel a lot. And we're seeing that with empty nesters where they're visiting their kids, their grandkids, their parents, or they're just traveling, or they have
Yes.
second homes. Now they're just not home every single weekend too. That plays into it as well.
The fabric of the community is changing a little bit. And what I'm hearing you say is that you have to be very intentional about
Absolutely.
it in order to draw people into that community experience.
Yes, and I've found not just in neighborhoods, but in other settings, church,
Yeah.
schools, anything like that where you need participation and people to come and volunteer, become involved, it can be challenging. But I think the important thing is to help people find their niche, find what they're good at so that they enjoy it. So it's not a chore. They enjoy
Mhm.
doing it, and then they'll naturally gravitate towards becoming involved.
I think the more, that other people do it and draw people out, the more people realize how important it is and how much they miss it too, having those touch points with their neighbors.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Mhm.
So we're in a new phase of life where both have become grandmothers now, which is exciting. How many grandkids do you have now?
6. Can't
6.
believe it. Yes, uh-huh,
We
ranging in age from 5.5 to 10.5 months.
that's
So,
that's amazing. We have 2 now from almost 3 and 3.5, almost 4 months. Was becoming a grandmother, was that different than what you expected it to be?
I didn't realize I'd have to learn how to be a grandmother,
Oh.
and I felt like I really did. You have to learn that you're not the one responsible. You can just be the fun one, the one to love them and play with them and not have to worry about all the discipline and making the decisions. You're following the lead of the mom rather than creating that path yourself. You'd think your daughter would do things very close to the way you did, but she was little. She doesn't remember the way I did a lot of things. And so you just kind of, and sometimes you bite your tongue. Sometimes you're like, wow, I never thought of that. That's a
Mhm.
great point. And also you just wanna be there with them
Yeah.
all the time, and then you have to remember, "Okay, I had my chance. These are my
Mhm.
grandchildren now."
Mhm.
So it's a different role, but there's just nothing like it. It's wonderful.
I love those hugs. You love hugging your kids. I remember hugging the boys and loving hugging the boys, but it does hit a little bit different when it's your grandchild wrapping those little arms around your neck.
My little one now, I have one that's right in Huntersville. I finally have one living close, and I babysit her one day a week, and she grabs onto my shirt by my shoulders, and she just buries her head in there, and, she started saying, "Mama," but now she's also mama is also the "ma" is kisses. So,
Oh.
she was doing that to me the other day, and, she just steals my heart every time. All
Mhm.
of them do whenever I see them, and all their little personalities. I almost noticed the uniqueness in their personalities for each of them more in my grandchildren than I did with my kids. I don't know, with the kids, you're just so caught up in everything, and with this, you can kinda sit back and just
Yeah.
enjoy. So,
Yeah, you're not so worried about signing off on the school permission slips and getting them to practice and making sure the laundry's done for them and all of that. So you do have more breathing room and time to just sort of sit and observe. How has making memories with your family changed as your family has gone into this new phase?
well, I've got 4 kids, and they are living in Iowa, Atlanta, Colorado, and then one in Huntersville. So I grew up in a big family. We had lots of aunts and uncles and grandparents around, and then I'm one of 7 kids, so there's always crowds. The family was always getting together. My siblings now are spread out now, but then I had a pretty good sized family myself. Now, it's difficult getting everyone together. A year and a half ago, we rented a house in Hilton Head, and that was so much fun. Being at the beach with everyone there. It wasn't a year and a half ago. It was just this past September, and it was just wonderful. This year, we're all getting together in Colorado. So I'm learning to enjoy the times with each
Mhm.
individual child and their families as is, because we're not always going to be together. So you savor whatever time you get. My son's getting married in 2 weeks out in Colorado, so that's gonna be really fun, but it's not like just enjoying family. There's gonna be a lot going on, so, but it'll
It'll
be
be
fun.
very busy.
Yes,
Is this
wonderful.
your last one that's getting married now?
My baby.
Oh,
Yes, yes. Very exciting.
that is exciting.
Mhm, mhm.
Our daughter-in-law is from Colorado, so we got to have a Colorado wedding as well, and it was just spectacular. Very different environment than North Carolina. Truly the Wild West and so different and so beautiful.
It is so beautiful out there. Every time we go, it's a vacation, and with the hiking, for the wedding Friday, one of the events is whitewater rafting, which we're going to do, and we're praying no one cracks their head on a rock or something like that, I don't know. But it's just, it's going to be different. With the rehearsal dinner is at a place called The Beach, where literally you're in sand on the shores of the river. Many of our guests are extending it into a vacation. It's a long way to go for a wedding, so I appreciate them coming, but I'm also thrilled that they can make their own vacation out of it as well.
We had that same experience too. The people who traveled from our side to attend the wedding stayed a few extra days and went and really enjoyed Colorado. Transacting real estate is one of the biggest purchases that anybody makes in their life. How do you experience people, the emotional side of real estate and how that impacts people?
Very interesting because that it is a very, very emotional purchase, and you can have someone that's a CEO of a top company or a controller or something like that. And once it becomes personal, it's different. And that's where we step in. I like to say that I do real estate with a personal touch because I don't have a team. I don't have all these people that do the transactions for me and do everything. I do it myself. I'm the one that my client will be talking to. When I'm talking to someone and they're interviewing me to be their agent, I like to tell them that communication is the most important thing. All the same information is on the MLS, Zillow, Realtor.com, all that stuff. But it's really the communication with them, finding out what they really need to accomplish and communicating through the whole process. And also communicating with the other agents. With AI and Zillow and all these other things, there's so much information available out there now to home buyers and home sellers. A lot think, oh, well, I can just cut out the agent. The amount of knowledge we need to have, like getting your license in North Carolina, it's one of the most difficult states to do so. So there's a lot of education we have to do upfront and continuing education. You have to stay on top of a lot of things. So that's one thing. But it's also knowing the area, knowing the market, and developing rapport with other agents. Sometimes there can be multiple offers on a property, and it may not just be the numbers, it's having a good rapport with that agent, being easy to transact with, If they think you're gonna be difficult or if you have a reputation of being difficult, they can say to their seller, "Look, this agent is really good to work with. They're very fair. They tend to have very smooth transactions." And then the reverse could be true. So there's a lot that goes into it that people don't see behind the scenes. And our job as agents is to take the emotion out of it for the buyer or seller and try to just manage their expectations and help, no one can find exactly what they want, no matter what their price point is as a buyer. And as a seller, it's the same thing. If someone comes in and says, "Oh, I don't like that color," or, "This needs to be fixed," it's not personal. It's business. So we try to be a buffer for that.
What's the craziest thing anybody's ever come in with on their wish list of what they had to have in a house?
Oh, there's a saying that says buyers are liars, which is not very nice. You have to take it with a grain of salt. Right, but the whole thing is people have sometimes unrealistic expectations. So, I don't know that I've had anyone really crazy with what they want. I did have one client that my friend referred to me, and he was looking for a waterfront house for $1,000,000. And then he was, cottagey, whatever his wife was saying. So the first day we went out, I showed them things in that price range, and I had never met them. They were coming from, Florida. And the minute I met them, I'm like, "Oh, this is not what they want." So the second time out, we saw a few more, and I raised the price point, and then we saw a $2.5 million house, and we didn't even go through it, and he said, "Okay, cash, boom." And, eh, you know, and then he even went over asking to ensure that he got it.
Oh,
So
wow.
wish list, I knew he was looking for a unique property, and I knew exactly which one I thought fit the bill, and it's a great feeling when you can read them like that,
Mhm.
and their budget was, you know, they would have liked to spend that much, but in reality, they were thrilled with what they got, and the price didn't bother them,
Well, there you go.
so if you know anyone else like that.
We'll send them your way for
Yeah.
sure. Do do people tend to tie their identity to their house? Does that contribute to the emotional factor of real estate?
Um Yes, generally, yes, because it's their sanctuary. Some people more than others. Some want it to be a reflection of them. Some want, all the bells and whistles and the address that means something and in a certain neighborhood, prestige wise, and other people could care less. It's what speaks to them. Some people want a huge house. Some people say, I don't want to have to take care of that. I want something small. And so it's really on an individual basis. You just have to figure that out. Same thing with selling too. You would think that price is the most important thing. It isn't necessarily. Yes, they want to get what their house is worth. Sometimes people want to sell it fast. They don't
Right.
want to have to keep it in perfect condition and have
Mhm.
people traipsing through their house. There's only one first impression. So you have to
Yeah.
make sure everything is done very well right from the beginning. And then hopefully it'll move. And you do everything you can to make sure you move it quickly. So
How have services like Open Door and things like that changed real estate?
it has changed for people that don't want a lot of showings. They may have little children, they may be elderly, they don't wanna play the game for a long time, they just want it over and done with, but that comes at a cost. For some people, it's worth it. Other people, they think I'm only gonna get how much for this house? And then they realize that nothing in life is free. So if you're selling through one of these services, no matter which one it is, there's a cost associated with it. So it could be convenience, but you are leaving a lot of money on the table when you use that service.
Do you have any advice that's specific to your first time home buyers?
First of all, get your credit score up, save money, um, and research. Drive around neighborhoods, not just neighborhoods, towns, areas. You may not know where you wanna be. So before you start looking at houses, drive around and see what feels good to you. Figure that out. Go to open houses. I start searches for my clients a year or 2. That's how we ended up in Denver. I had a search going for my husband and I 2 years in advance just to see what it was like. But then I got an idea of what the prices were and what to expect. So you're prepared. You have a lot of knowledge. Knowledge is power. So the more you know about the market, the better off you are. So I think getting the credit score under control, saving the money, and then just becoming knowledgeable about the area. And there's another thing too. Don't go into an open house without a real estate agent and just tell the real estate agent, "Oh, I don't have an agent," because they'll either try to represent both sides or have someone in their office that, they'll refer you to. And for new construction, it's the same thing. People go into builders' offices or to a new, development and they'll say, "Oh, you don't need an agent." Well, the builder has that agent representing them. Who do you have representing you? Even if it's new construction, there's a lot that can be negotiated. There's a lot you have to know about new construction, what to expect, what to look for, things like that. And also the, uh, the home builders, the price that they're paying, like, if I get paid by the home builder, that's not increasing the purchase price of the buyer. They have a marketing fund, they pay the
Mhm.
agents. So it's a win-win for the buyers to come in represented.
So if you're working with new construction, it's no cost to you to have an agent, but it certainly could benefit you by protecting you or helping you get a better value for things that you can negotiate that you may not have known or wouldn't be disclosed that are actually negotiable.
Correct.
Okay.
The only caveat to that is if the home builder is not offering buyer's agency. A couple years ago, there were some new rules that were, in the media and everything, and it caused, unrealistic expectations for people. So, North Carolina is a state where we already had, buyer's agency agreements, so that's just transparency, as far as who's representing who, who's paying whom, and things like that. Sometimes in the media, that was distorted to say, "Oh, well, the seller doesn't have to pay the buyer's agent anymore." They never did have to. Usually, when a listing agreement is entered into, the listing agent contracts with the seller for a certain price, and then they usually agree or have been usually agreeing to compensate the buyer's agent a certain portion of that. That is still possible. It just can't be in the MLS. You can't advertise that in the MLS. So as an agent, I have to call the listing agent if I'm representing a buyer and ask them if their seller will be compensating me. If not, my buyer has to compensate me. So same thing with new construction. If the home builder is not paying it and I have a buyer client, they will have to compensate me. Yeah. That being said, you can ask for money towards closing costs that you can use for that. So the whole thing is it's coming out of the same pot of money, one way or the other from the seller.
What are the key things that make a house feel like a home?
For different people, it's different things. So you have your personal style. Some people want contemporary. They want clean and neat and minimalistic. Other people want cozy furniture in it, and, so it's really you have to look at the house and see the possibility. That's when staging and things like that come into play. It's best not to have it too personal if you're selling your home because you want a buyer to come in and imagine themselves living there. So for someone that wants something cozy and dark, they don't need a lot of natural light. Other people like me, I need a lot of natural light.
Mhm,
So there's certain things that are important like that, whether you want it a lot of space, not as much space, but it's really just the potential to decorate it and be in the location. Like they always say, location, location, location. That's the most important thing. You can change the house, you can't change the location. So it
mhm,
either has to be enough of a blank slate that you can make it what you want it to be, or a lot of times it just speaks to you. I mean, it is a gut feel when you walk in a house, whether you like it or you do not.
What sold you on the house that you ended up buying here?
The view, the view,
Uh,
because, we didn't have a huge budget, and if you're living on the water, it's the water, so we sacrificed quite a bit in the type of house we wanted, the size of the house, layout, and things like that for the view that we had, and at the time, ours was pretty much a mess. The dock was falling apart, and they were ripping it apart to fix it, supposedly, so we had to walk out across, like, the missing boards and, like, kinda like this, and look down, and it was the best view we could get for the money, so that's what we went with.
and that's the nature of compromise when you're looking at real estate. You gotta figure out what is your thing, and then everything else takes a back seat to that thing.
Yes. Years ago, when we were buying a house before I got into real estate, an agent told me, "If you get 80% of what you're looking for, you're doing well." And
Mhm,
and that's absolutely true across any price point. You just have to know what your top priorities are and stick to those. But you're always gonna have to make some kind of compromise. And in the long run, a lot of things you thought were important may not be important in the long run.
mhm. One piece of advice that I would always give to people, especially if they're buying a house that's a fixer upper, this is this is experience advice. Live in the house for a year before you do anything to it because you will go into a house that you bought that needs renovation and you'll have this whole list of things that you think you want to do. And then once you've lived in it for a year, that list changes radically.
Yes, I agree with that. There's another side of the coin too. I do think that we lived in our house a while, like we had to do the porch and the dock immediately, but the interior, I was glad we got to live in it and figure out what worked and what didn't work. That being said, there's hardly an inch of the house that we have not renovated. If we had had a plan from the beginning for everything, that probably would have been a better decision because some things we did in the beginning, we wish we might have done differently because they impact other decisions you make later on.
Oh, I see.
So mhm.
I see.
But we weren't afforded that luxury. We had no idea we were gonna move, and it all was like boom, boom, boom. We didn't have time to find a designer and a builder and
Mhm,
live somewhere else. As it is, we lived through construction for 5 months during COVID, which
mhm.
I will never do again. COVID or not, I will never live in the house through 5 months of renovation.
Mhm.
So, that was a learning experience. And each project we've done projects on every single one of our houses that we've owned. You think, "Okay, now we've seen it all. We got this." No, there's always something new that you learn along the way.
For sure, and it really depends on what the house gives you
Mhm,
too.
mhm. And what you find when you take the walls down, things
Oh,
like
which is always different. Man,
yes,
you think you
yes.
got one thing till you start taking it apart, and then you realize
And with the 5-month renovation actually, it was with the porch renovation we were doing to the deck. We took the whole deck down and put a new one up with a porch. We were there for the entire project except one weekend, and that's when they were attaching part of the deck to the house and had to go inside, and remove a ceiling tile in the basement, and thousands of ants fell down.
oh my gosh.
And we had just had, the pest guy there. Didn't
Yeah.
know we had, like, a colony of ants living in the ceiling.
Oh my
That was
goodness.
one of those, bad surprises. And then we also found out that the guys doing the deck actually fell from, their ladder,
Mhm.
whatever, the whole deck ripped away from the house and they fell on the ground. We weren't there for that
My
either, but I was
goodness.
kind of glad we missed that as well.
It's a lot of stories when you renovate.
Oh,
That's why I
yes.
love going through everybody's houses and hear all of their renovation stories. It makes you realize you're not alone.
Oh, absolutely. You can write books, right? But well, there've been movies that we like to
Mhm.
watch
The
about it.
before and after pictures are really spectacular. I
Thank
know
you.
every now and then we go back through and look at the pictures
Yeah.
of this house, the
Yes,
before pictures, and
you've
it's
done an
like,
incredible job.
it's amazing.
And then
Wow.
you make it your own. That's the thing too. Sometimes when, people are looking at houses or people are renovating to sell, like, don't renovate with very specific taste. Keep it neutral.
Mhm.
Because if you're gonna put a lot of money into it, someone else is gonna look at that and say, "That's not my taste." Now, the price is higher because you just put all that money into it, but I don't like it, and so it doesn't work for me, you know? And that's why a lot of people do like, some people that don't have the time to renovate, they want everything ready to go.
Mhm.
Other
Other people.
people, they want, their imprint, their stamp on it.
Mhm. It's interesting that you say about the renovation, especially if you're not keeping it. So around here, we've got some houses that have been flipped or in the process of being flipped. And you can tell when one of those houses does not go according to plan because we've got one around the corner that's been sitting on the market for well over a year and it was a bad renovation. So whoever takes that house is going to have to completely redo it. And these people, whoever did this, are carrying that property every month and they cannot sell it because they're asking too much for it.
Right. Well, they paid a lot for it.
Yeah.
And we see that sometimes people, especially like you said, with the HGTV shows and everything, sometimes you get novice investors or renovators that, want to do this and have unrealistic expectations. Other times, like there's a house kitty corner for me that was bought and it took them 2 years to complete the renovations. It was during COVID. They had multiple contractors and we're like, oh my gosh, the prices are going through the roof. Well, the house is beautiful and it is rented all the time for a lot of money. They did a good job. I don't know if I could have had the stomach for that one,
Mhm.
but they really did a great job.
Yeah, that is, a great house. A friend of ours works for a high-end cabinet company, and they did the cabinets in that house, and it really is beautiful. It's well done. It's interesting as we look through some of those that have become rentals when you get a chance to go through them, the marked difference between one that is really well done, that
Mhm.
rents a lot, like you said, that one stays rented all the time at very high end, and some of the other ones that are not hardly rented at all, and I know they're not getting the prices that they had wanted, but the homes, when you go through them, they just were not done well, you know?
Also, sometimes they're remodeled to be rentals. So you'll have LVP flooring, not high-end cabinets. They look nice, but if it's gonna be your home, you
Yeah.
may choose higher end finishes.
Mhm,
Like we put, real hardwood floors and things
mhm,
like that. If we were renovating it to either flip or to use as a short-term rental, we would have probably done LVP and made
mhm.
some other changes.
Yes. Yeah, we went hardwood when we redid our upstairs as well. I'm so glad we did. It is just spectacular, but that was a big decision
Mhm.
to do that.
Mhm.
So, living here on Lake Norman, like you said, it's kind of a vacation hotspot. We get to live somewhere where other people only get to come and vacation, which is truly a dream come true for me. And being on the west side, it's a very different feel than on the east side. What are some of your favorite spots that we have over here when somebody comes to visit? Where's your you got to go here?
It's funny because when we looked at Denver the first time, we were driving around looking for town hall. Couldn't find it because there's no town, so there's no town hall. And you're driving down the main road, it may not be the most attractive, like, compared to Davidson, which is such a charming
Yes,
town.
it is charming.
But you just have to appreciate Denver for what it is, and we are getting so many little things like donuts and boba tea.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. When we have
Yes.
people come, you have to go there. They have the
Yeah.
best apple fritters than you could find anywhere. They take the donuts in the back and fill them with whatever filling you want. They're incredible. 16 Prime, what a wonderful steakhouse, great atmosphere. The wine stop there. We've got a
Mhm.
wonderful wine store.
Yeah.
Awake Decor,
Oh, yes.
wonderful furniture, decor, gifts, Albertines. Very interesting. Florist, wine, gifts, home decor, and I took a pottery class there. My brother's bagels. I mean, I come from up north and lived in New York. They are authentic, I mean, they're really good. So there's a lot of a lot of little hidden gems
Mhm.
in the area.
I
Mhm.
love, the Westlake, restaurant. We call it the Red Roof because it's got a red metal roof on it, so we call it the Red Roof Restaurant. We go there, and I love that because that is where all the local people come. You go in there on a Saturday or Sunday morning, and you've got the tables of all the old men that go and have breakfast together,
Yes.
and they're from the Knights of Columbus and all of these different
Yes.
organizations. I'm like, "This is small town America." This happens all across the country in these little restaurants. The thing's been there forever, but the food is always good. The same people have owned it, and the staff is the same for like 25 years. And
Right, right,
it just, you feel like you're part of the community when you go eat at a place like that.
right.
And
Cabela's coffee shop right across the street.
mhm,
That's changed hands, but it's still a local coffee shop, not one of
mhm.
the big chains, and we have our Bible study there sometimes. You see the groups with, their cars or,
Yep,
that it's part of the community.
it is. Oh, and then Latitudes, best burgers hands down at
Well, they were on
Latitude.
Bar Rescue. Did you see that episode?
Yes, I
Yes.
did, and it
Uh-huh.
was great, but my favorite thing about Latitudes is how they do Christmas.
Oh,
They
I haven't
decorate that. Have you never been there at Christmas
mm-mm.
time?
No.
They decorate that like like you're in Macy's in New York City, like, it is just Christmas explodes everywhere, but what they do that's so fun is from Thanksgiving through New Year's is they have different people come in, like, they have somebody come in and be the Grinch and harass everybody there. I tell people it's so much fun.
That's
They've
great.
got live music, and so they have, different specialty cocktails and foods and different things that they do to make it events all through the season. They have Santa come, and
Oh, cute.
I mean, they really put their effort into being part of the community all year long. Of course, they've got outdoor seating. Food is excellent, but the burgers are really top notch. And yeah, they really do a great job there.
One of my other favorite things is our neighborhood 4th of July parade. Which isn't I mean, just for a neighborhood, it's a good sized parade, and with this year, with it being the 250th birthday of our country, it's gonna be a big deal, and it's just hometown America. It
Yes.
just goes down the main street of our community, and I know your family is in it as
Yeah,
veterans.
we
My
are.
husband and I have been there several times as
Yes, and I can I say that you go as the Statue of Liberty because that's my favorite.
Yes,
Yeah,
and my
I love
husband's Uncle Sam. So we're hoping to do that again this year, and it's just great, and they honor the veterans afterwards with lunch and have things for the kids, and it's really everyone on the watching it is wearing red, white, and blue, waving flags, and it's a great experience, and the Christmas parade too that goes down Business 16,
Mhm.
that's it's you get that hometown feel. It's great.
Those are the things that give it the hometown feel, and you've spent a lot of years working within Westport on the Westport Community Association, which
Mhm,
everybody thinks is an HOA, and it is not. It is a civic organization.
mhm.
In fact, that was really how you and I got to know each other is when Peggy got me involved in that, and you were on it as well, and we were
You got
working.
me involved too.
I know. It's a common denominator here, but working on the parade, putting that on, and the Santa and all of those things
Yes.
that we do throughout the year as a civic organization helps weave the fabric of the community and gives people that sense of belonging that I think everybody really craves and needs, especially when you're raising a family, like the food truck events that you were putting on with the live music, local artists coming. And that all makes part of the fabric of the community. And that is the sort of thing that if people can get involved in their local community that really makes a difference in our day-to-day lives. It's great to listen to the news and hear what's going on in Washington and in Raleigh and whatever, but it is the grassroots civic organizations that really are truly are your community, and people being involved in those is key or else they wither away and disappear.
We had a church picnic today, right before I came over here, and it was so well attended. Everyone was supposed to bring a side dish or dessert and sign or, register that they were coming, and we probably had double. And it was things like that that bring communities together. And when you're talking about civic, there's many volunteer
Mhm,
opportunities in the area too. You just find where your interests lie, and you can certainly find something to get involved with. You
mhm.
just have to get out, put yourself out there, and, there's always something.
What advice do you have for people that are newcomers to a neighborhood?
Knock on the door and meet your neighbors. If they don't come to you, go to them. Some people are just shy, some people are busy. When I have new people come to the neighborhood to bring cookies or muffins or something, but as the one moving in, we threw a party and invited all our neighbors. So you don't have to be best friends with all of your neighbors. You may find a best friend as a neighbor, but you can have a different relationship just being a neighbor. It's still nice to know the people around you. So just put yourself out there.
When we moved here, we didn't know anybody. I joined the book club. I'm
Mhm.
like, I wanna get knit into the community, and
Mhm.
I joined the book club, and then when Peggy approached me about helping with the WCA, I'm like,
Mhm.
"Sign me up," because that's how I'll get to know
Right.
people and make friends like you.
Right, and don't be afraid. A lot of times people are like, "Well, I don't wanna commit, I don't know." If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You tried it, go on to the next thing. Learn from it and go on to the next thing.
I love that.
Mhm.
Well, we're gonna have the opportunity to do many things together in Westport, and I'm really looking forward to, um, everything we get to celebrate this summer. It's gonna be pretty fantastic. When you look back on, your career in real estate and think about all of the people that you helped find new homes for them to enjoy with their families, what do you hope people take away or remember about their homes?
That it truly is their home. It's not just a house to live in, but that it's truly is their home, and they love it. And, it's a different experience when you're helping sellers. I mean, that can be tough. I had, a couple in the neighborhood, and he thought it was a good thing to sell. She was not really ready, but they kind of had to.
Mhm.
So you have to be very empathetic,
Yeah,
and sensitive to that, you
yeah.
know? And I was at one closing representing the buyer, and at that point, you had the buyers and sellers at the table together, and the wife was crying. It's really hard, but on the buyer side, when you follow up with them later, "How's everything going?" And they're so excited, or they have you over to see what they've done, or they refer you to, like, one of my friend I've done, like, 3 family members, then you've done a good job. And, when you go and they're really enjoying their home, that's the important thing. You want them to feel like it's a reflection of them, and that's their escape, their safe place, their place that they like to come home to.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join me on this episode of Life Served Neat. And everybody, thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.